from all, to all, with all, for all, through all. We thank the gods of creation. We thank the ancestors. We thank the forces of nature. And we thank the earth. We thank them for their direction, their protection, their guidance, for keeping us, showing us, allowing us to know and enjoy life to its fullest, now and later.
Black people who once loved with the slow march of time, time was ours to hold in the soft, low-born chambers of our hearts. And once we, the Afro mommies and daddies of a sun world, would turn our strands of hair into antennas to tune in the juju madness and syncopated love rhythms of Africa. And we loved with time, and we took the time to love, and with the right time we loved, and we loved time after time. Will we ever love again? Will we ever love again? Will we really ever love again? Or will we just sit and rot away with the brighter tomorrows in the skag field, rat-cluttered halls of our minds?
Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do?
Will the real black people please stand up?
Jumbo Habari, and welcome once again to our story, the program that makes being black positive, relevant, desirable, and true to a lost nation in America. A program that speaks to the historical significance of the original people of the earth. Our story network takes pride in setting itself away from other programs that creates and centers on entertainment or rhetorical mumbo-jumbo that misdirects your attention onto other things that causes you to exhaust your resources and renders you brain dead. It is our story who talks about commitment to you and your people. It is our story that champions the reestablishment of the black genius that once ruled the world. It is our story that focuses you in on the rewards of black advocacy, black activism, black involvement, and black power. It is our story that encourages survival of the black race and solicits your involvement to that end. Black folks must remember, race first is the call of the day, and we as a people must, I say must take the pledge if we, the people of the original race, expect to survive. As I take the many lessons I have received over the years and reflect upon them by sharing these lessons with my brothers and sisters, I realize the power that we as a people possess for the most part has gone unnoticed. The masses of black folks who have been rendered lost and disenfranchised from the meaning and mission our creators intended for us to embrace is all but depleted. It is because of the mission and meaning of the life of our ancestors that I realize how blessed as black people we really are. What fascinates me are the many gifts I have been granted, which allows me to distribute the information onward to you. As always, that message begins and ends with the importance of blackness. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Greetings, friends, comrades, family, the inquisitive onlookers, and our beloved viewers. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to Our Story Network. And with these welcomes comes thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you who came out last Friday night to my book signing and what I will pronounce last Friday as being a love fest. Why? Because that is how you made me feel. Thank you for all of the love you shared. I believe many of you were surprised to see Chuck Perkins from WBOK's Chuck Wagon reading some of his poetry. And of course, Brother Johnny presenting the introduction for the night. Community Book Center was bright and shiny last Friday, and the warm and mellow feelings New Orleans once had was once again recaptured with the family getting together again. That is to say, the cultural family that has been the benchmark of New Orleans' uniqueness. Since we are on the topic of culture, I want to share with you the cover of Traveler magazine I saw just a few days ago. As you can see, AAA is using the backdrop of New Orleans as their cover for the month of March and April. Normally, one might say it is good tourist business to have New Orleans promoted on any and all media outlets. Normally, but this ain't normal. I have been harping on this for many years, and just recently, other blacks have been complaining about the disrespect and total elimination of black culture that is surfacing in New Orleans. In a major black city where once blacks were used to headline magazine covers and multimedia advertising, blacks are becoming a rare breed to find in the multimedia world of advertising, especially here in New Orleans, where New Orleans culture is black culture. Imagine, if you will, black culture being represented by white people. Sounds far-fetched? Well, that is what happened in Kemet that caused Kemet to become Egypt. So by looking at the Traveler magazine, second-line bands are white people's creation. The party atmosphere New Orleans is known for was created by whites. Believe that? I have a Danziger Bridge for sale real cheap. Are you understanding what I'm talking about? I'm talking about you, black New Orleans, being able to maintain your birthright. But since black folk are not interested in saving or reclaiming their original birthrights, I guess I am talking to the deaf, dumb, and blind. You know, the ones who believe whatever white folks say is gospel. And before I get too far away from duties of thanking my people, I want to say once again thank you for everyone who came out this past Friday to the book signing at Community Book Center. Now, don't forget, for those of you who have not gotten your books yet, books are available at Community Book Center, 2523 Bayou Road, or Wayne's World and Sons, 2255 St. Claude Street, and Ronald Fletcher's, 3501 Holiday Drive, Suite 405 on the West Bank. You can also order online by sending an email to wcjohnson76@yahoo.com and state you are interested in the book. You will receive an email invoice from PayPal. Make your payment and the book will be sent to you. Again, I thank you for your support and I thank you for being conscious about blackness. Now, blackness is something special and something given by the gods of creation. Tonight, I have my friend and colleague, Brother Johnny Massey, whom I had the pleasure of viewing the movie Black Panther with. Now, let me tell you how out of touch I am with the youth. Several months ago, prior to the release of the movie, I heard of the movie and thought people were talking about the Black Panther Party. When I found out they were talking about a comic book character, I realized I was out of touch. Tonight, we are going to give you another side to the hype, the black side from whence all things come. Brother Johnny, I want you to give your opening thoughts on the movie and reasons why. Brother Johnny?
Good evening, Brother WC.
Greetings.
Good evening to the Our Story viewing family. Once again, congratulations on the book signing.
Thank you.
They were standing room only.
Yes.
Let's see if we can give some backdrop about this movie, Black Panther. And I understand you're not the only one. I have a friend of mine, brother from the 60s, out in California. He thought the movie was going to be sort of a movie about the Black Panther Party. And in relationship to the Black Panther Party, Black Panther, the comic book Black Panther was started in July of 1966. Marvel Comics. It was written by Stan Lieber and Frank Kurtzberg. People know Stan Lieber now as Stan Lee, and they know Jacob Kurtzberg as Jack Kirby. But these are the two individuals who came up with the storyline Black Panther back in 1966. In July of 1966, they were looking for a so-called black superhero. Understand, the Panther Party began in October of that year, 1966. So I've been hearing individuals stating that the Black Panther comic book actually came out before the Black Panther Party. That is correct to a certain extent, but understand now, in 1965 is when we get the use of the Black Panther and the first image of the Black Panther with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and Stokely Carmichael when they were down in Lowndes County, Alabama. In 1965, they were looking for a symbol or an emblem because so many individuals, both white and black, were illiterate. In Alabama, you would vote using symbols. So the symbol of the racist Democratic Party in the county was a white rooster. So they were looking for, well, we need a symbol. So they kept saying, well, we need to come up with something. So finally, a sister was talking to another sister that had went to Clark College, now known as Clark Atlanta University. Their mascot is the Black Panther. They said, well, let's use a Black Panther or a black cat. Stokely heard that and said, well, you know what? A black cat can always defeat a white rooster. So they decided, well, we're going to go ahead and use the Black Panther as our emblem. This is 1965. Huey Newton, Bobby Seale was at a couple of the meetings. They decided, well, you know what? We like what the brothers and sisters in Lowndes County, Alabama did with the Black Panther. We're going to take this and use this also as our totem. And thus you get the Black Panther Party. But what I've been hearing erroneously is that the Black Panther Party somehow may have been influenced by the comic Black Panther.
Yeah.
Which it was not. Actually, what had happened was with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, again, it's only what we would say a situation where it would have been only natural for them to have come across the Black Panther and its use, because this was something that was making national news at that point in regards to what was going on with SNCC, Stokely Carmichael, and the Lowndes County, Alabama black citizens in regards to voting. But understand too, this movie being 1966, the Black Panther character, he goes through several phases. He's going to be called the Black Panther. Later on, to so that he would not be identified with the Black Panther Party, he calls himself the Black Leopard. Then he will later on change himself to the Black Panther. Actually, in one of the issues of the comics, the Black Panther actually states that he's not for or against the Black Panther Party. Letting you know right from the get-go, the Black Panther is letting you know I am someone who is non-polemical. You understand what I'm saying? And that's very important because it seems that individuals have attached a lot of things to this character. You understand what I'm saying? Based upon your own particular, you understand what I'm saying, notions and views that you want to project onto the Black Panther. So, I'm giving a little historical backdrop to the comic in relationship to the image of the Black Panther Party, and also what happened in 1965 before the Black Panther comic came out, with the Black Panther being used in Lowndes County, Alabama. Later on, Emory Douglas is going to change the image of the Black Panther. He's the official artist for the Black Panther Party, and he's going to sort of update it. And that becomes the seal that you often see used as the official Black Panther seal of the BPP. But again, we have to be very careful here because no one is actually seeing that what's being used here is that what's going to happen is now, from a historical standpoint, when you hear the term Black Panther, no longer will you think about the Black Panther Party and self-defense. You're going to think about a mythical story.
You're right.
About an individual actually, not only in regards to the comic, but also in regards to the storyline that they adapted for the movie. This is someone who has made it clear, I am non-polemical. I am someone, essentially, I am non-political to a certain degree. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And this is something that we actually begin to see in the movie. And this is why we have to be very careful. We haven't even begun to get into, because so many individuals at this point have decoded the movie, they've gone over the movie, and it's very difficult to get individuals to see because everyone is so excited because for so long they've been given a diet of slave porn that they were at a point where when this movie was coming out, the euphoria had already begun to be created because individuals were saying, okay, finally, especially given the success of Marvel and the money that has been being made, especially off the Avengers series, individuals said, now we get an opportunity to have a black superhero. Now understand, Marvel had failed in the movie business and was going to give it up when they had a movie called Howard the Duck. It failed miserably. It wasn't until later on Marvel decided to give a black superhero played by Wesley Snipes by the name of Blade an opportunity to do a Marvel series. Blade was so successful, Marvel decided, let's go ahead and reboot and try this again. So they've been making quite a bit of money, and as it stands with Black Panther is estimated to make over $2 billion worldwide. That's putting it in the category of Avatar, Titanic, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Jurassic World. So the question now we have to begin to ask, and I know you like to deal with economics, is that with the money that's being made, how much of that money is going to go back to the black community? Because the problem we have is we think that by going see the movie 3, 4, 5 times, that we're doing some type of economic revolution.
Yeah, for black folk.
When it has been made clear, this movie, again, not only Marvel, is produced by Buena Vista Studios, which is Disney. And at this point, with all the money that's been made, and understand, the first question that individuals are going to ask you is, well, what problem do you have because you're dealing with black writers, black director, black producer, black cast, black actors? But understand, this black cast was underpaid compared to any other cast in any other previous Marvel movies. The individual, Chad Boswick, who plays T'Challa, the Black Panther character, is paid actually $50 million less than Robert Downey Jr. And also less than the individual who plays Thor and Captain America. They still won't give you a complete estimate on the amount of money he received, because we've heard everything from $800,000 to $2.7 million. For a movie, again, that is estimated that it will make well over $2 billion. Now, we haven't even got into all the imagery and the programming and the psyops and the psychological warfare that has been generated by this movie. We're just dealing with the sheer numbers. Because understand, all over the country, individuals was buying our theaters so that our children could see this movie for free. It happened here locally, Atlanta, Detroit, DC area, California. All you saw was individuals. It had become the new party.
Yes.
Now, we saw a situation before. We remember when X came out. And Spike Lee gave us one thing, you understand, or promised us one thing, and in return what we got was something completely different. We saw the same thing with Obama. One thing was promised, and instead what we got was something completely different. Now, I remember when you came out of the movie, you said something very important. You said, after viewing this, I have to wonder whether or not this is going to set us back 100 years.
Yeah.
Because just looking at the movie, your first thought is, seems like this is Coming to America, Lion King meets Star Wars and James Bond. Mm-hmm. It almost had a very Disney-esque feel to it, where Disney had their fingerprints all over this.
Yes.
And when you begin to look at the various storylines that began to develop, African versus African American, elite, bourgeoisie, gated communities, male versus female, man versus machine, the importance of technology, all of these things, this sort of romanticization of the concept of a monarchy.
Yes.
We began to look at this movie and say, well, everything in this movie is un-African.
Yes. Yes.
But yet this is a movie you're telling us that is about an Africa that is supposed to have been untouched by colonization and enslavement. But yet what we're seeing is the thumbprint of colonization and enslavement all over Wakanda.
Yes. Yes.
You're giving us a bale of goods that this is a wealthy nation. Well, first you have to ask, well, how did they become wealthy?
Right. If they're secluded.
If you're isolated and secluded. Wealth is determined by what? Your status on the global marketplace.
Your ability to trade.
This is why we have what? The International Bank, the International Monetary Fund. And what they do is they set your credit rating. And they determine the wealth of your country. That's nothing new. African countries sitting on minerals, sitting on wealth. And at the time in 1966 this was written, you have to remember, again, even though the movie they're going to tell you is written by so-called African Americans or so-called blacks, the characters are already developed. The storyline is already, the plot is already had been developed years ago by Stanley Lieber and by Jacob Kurtzberg. So now we have a situation, because individuals are going to say, okay, the individual who wrote the Black Panther novel, he's the same one that wrote the novel for the backdrop of the Finn character in Star Wars Awakening, who Finn is a complete idiot as well. We have Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's writing for the comic book now. So the first thing they get on you is, well, you got black writers who have influenced this. Black directors. It was filmed at Tyler Perry Studios. So your thought is, oh, look at this. Black dollars. If I go to the movie, I'm supporting black actors. And if I go to the movie, this is the trick. I'm going to what? Encourage them to make more movies like this. But more movies like what? More movies with these messages?
Yes, indeed. Let's get on the messages. Talk about the messages, would you?
Well, again, I say the first message that you see is African versus African American.
Yes.
You have an African country that has remained isolated with all of this technology and wealth, who has refused to help any other individuals, not only in the diaspora, but on the continent.
Right. And, it's interesting because let's look at some reality. We're always hearing, as black people in America, that the Africans don't want you back.
That's it. And and guess what that movie told you?
That's it.
That movie that was the thesis.
Yes. Yes.
Because the Killmonger character represents African Americans.
Yes.
And what does he do? Just like African Americans, I want to return home. And soon as he gets home, he's not welcome.
Right.
He's not welcome. So the message is being clearly sent to African Americans. You're not welcome there.
And it's being sent to Africans. You don't want them back.
You
Look
don't.
what they coming back here
Because
to
if they
do.
come back, look at the problems they're going to cause.
Yeah.
Your peaceful society.
Yeah.
Your culture will be ruined.
Yes.
And you have to begin to question this now, because the Killmonger character, and this is backfired, the Killmonger character is the only individual in the movie, with the exception of Lupita's character, India. He's the only one concerned about the oppressed peoples of the world.
Yes.
Because he's not, even though he may be Wakandan, he grew up where? In the United States, witnessing oppression.
Yes.
Witnessing police brutality.
Yes.
He grew up having to see all these things firsthand. So his thought is completely different, and all he is concerned with is that what? The means, or how could I say this? The means is irrelevant to him, because the end justifies the means.
You know, I wanted to first of all let the viewers at home know that the number is up. If you want to get in on the conversation, you're welcome to. I wanted to talk about just 15, 20 years ago, right here in New Orleans, we started seeing brothers with teardrops. And come to find out that a teardrop supposedly denoted a kill.
Mm-hmm.
Here's this brother, the character, who has the mutilated body, which each mutilation is supposed to represent a kill. Now, what kind of mindset are we setting our children up for when we are explaining to them what his mutilation is and why it is?
And not only that, we could even get into, from a cultural standpoint, when you look at the way those things are done, those things have very serious spiritual significance.
Right, they are ritualistic in nature, yes.
Each one often represents a prayer.
Yes.
But yet, what they're going to do is take that which may be sacred, and now they've taken it and placed something entirely different upon it.
Adulterated it, yes.
And
yes.
you see that throughout the movie. Things that may be considered ritual in regards, this is something sacred
yes.
to our culture, you have adulterated. I heard one individual describe the movie as just African fusion. They just pulled from everywhere, including the accents.
Yes.
Some speaking with Nigerian accents. One individual had a wholesome South African accent. One individual, well, Lupita, her accent is Kenyan. You understand? I mean, it's just what you saw. You understand what I'm saying?
It's a hodgepodge.
It was just one big hodgepodge, and nothing really made sense. It's like when we're sitting there in the movie and you look and you see these markets, you're like, well, hold on, if you're an isolated country, what you need a marketplace for? Because every cultural anthropologist will tell you the concept of a marketplace began because people, what? Engaged in long distance trade.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes.
This is a fact. People have studied this. The evolution of barter versus the evolution of mercantilism. And one of the main things they talk about is you will not have a marketplace unless you engage in long distance travel. You are an isolated country.
Right, right.
What's the marketplace for?
Right.
I mean, it looked like, I felt like I was looking at something out of Star Wars. Jakku. I really felt like I was looking at Mel Gibson, Mad Max, Tina Turner. Auntie was about to pop up. Because even though this is supposed to be a technologically advanced country, when you get to the marketplace and other areas, something about it just didn't look right.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you look at everything, skyscrapers, things that you know are just un-African.
Yes.
Because if you are a highly advanced civilization and culture, and me and you talked about this, you actually would pull away from technology. Yes. And you would move back towards nature, because here's the thesis that they do not deal with. And at the very beginning of the movie, they use perhaps one of the best characters in the entire movie. I have to admit, I was smitten and taken in by the Shuri character, the sister. But they use her because the thing is, she said something very important that is anti-African. When she talks about healing individuals, she says, what? This is not magic, this is technology. Wrong.
Right.
Our technology is our black magic. Our technology is our spiritual energy.
Yes, yes.
And if we
Exactly.
tapped into that, you don't need technology.
That's right.
That's the understanding. The European is based out of the concept, you understand what I'm saying, of being left brain oriented.
Has no spirit.
And must deal with technology.
Yes.
But then here's the other thing. Because individuals will say, well, the movie showed us doing things, and this will improve those individuals in STEM. You know, already Disney has said we will give $1 million for black girls to enter into STEM programs. Now, just a note on STEM, I have a cousin. He teaches engineering students. I never forget he told me this. He said, you know, I'm really getting tired of doing this at the university level, because in teaching these engineering students, all I'm doing is sending more black kids out there to be agents against us. Because no matter what you do, you still are in this system. You are still on this plantation, on this prison planet,
Right.
operating in their space and time. And what we don't understand is, again, they will give you a little bit of sugar before you get a whole bunch of salt.
Yeah.
And with that, it's a mixed bag, and you just have to be very careful, because we are so starving for a positive image. Well, if you picked up and read a book, or if we talk to the children, our whole history is littered with positive images. You don't have to have no movie to push them. Most of the things that are done that are technological, and most of these inventions are things that have been pushed by us.
You know, what comes to mind immediately is George Washington Carver. You want a technological wizard?
A wizard.
Wizard.
A wizard. That to this day, people do not understand, because they just want to associate him with the peanut.
Yeah.
Henry Ford used to come to him for ideas.
Yeah. Stay at his side.
Stayed at his side.
Yes.
And even in this country, people still think Henry Ford invented the automobile. What if individuals invented the automobile all over the world long before Henry
Right.
Ford had an idea of it? Matter of fact, it was two black guys that had
Yeah.
invented an automobile before Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Henry Ford is credited with what?
The assembly line.
The
He
assembly
created
line,
the assembly
which is
line.
called what? Because he got the idea from George Washington Carver, it is called a plant.
Yeah.
Because George Washington Carver gave him the idea based upon the what? Process of farming plants.
And let's talk about the fact that Henry Ford was saved from financial disaster because George Washington Carver created plastics for him to put in the car.
That's it.
But we don't talk about that.
Not at all. We don't need a mythical story
No.
to want you to have an interest in invention. And instead, matter of fact, what people don't understand is before we had entertainment, and athletics is your way out of the ghetto, for lack of a better term, your way up in life was to invent something.
Yes.
That was our heroes and our superstars. You can go find, look, it's played at this point. We're on the last day of so-called Black History Month. You can go get a whole list of black inventors.
Yeah. That would exceed a month long.
Right. Oh, matter of fact, they got black inventors that folk had long since forgot about.
Yes. That's true. Very true.
And they go all the way back to Africa. And they get back to Africa and Wakanda. Wakanda ain't special. They had an individual just put a documentary out about there are well over 100 cities in Africa that have been wiped out and decimated over the span of hundreds of years by the European. That's just no longer there.
Yeah.
You know, we had Timbuktu,
Yes.
the first world's university.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, Nile Valley.
Yes.
You know, they can't tell you, when they tell you about Wakanda, when Wakanda was originally thought of by Stan Lieber and by Jack Kirby, they thought of the Congo. And the first thing they wanted to put black folk in was the jungle. You can only find the jungle in Africa probably in two places, the Guinea Basin region and the Congo River Basin region. Majority of Africa is savanna.
Yeah.
There's only a small amount of jungle in a few areas. The biggest jungle, and there's a small amount of jungle, as you know, if you even want to call it jungle, they call it primarily
The
forest land
They call it
in
forest.
Uganda.
Yes.
That's not jungle.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And then they had nerve to have a tropical plant that they was using, the heart-shaped herb,
Yeah.
which requires a lot of rain, but everyone knows what that's based upon is wild yam.
Yeah.
The heart-shaped herb is actually the leaf that's produced by wild yam. And we know the importance that wild yam has had for Africans,
Yes.
being the primary starch
Yes.
for the diet.
Yes.
But anyway, looking at Wakanda and looking at, I got this feeling, I'm just looking at a gated community. That could be Audubon Place.
Right.
You
I went out there in New Orleans.
Right, you know what I mean? I didn't feel you understand what I'm saying? Like they're special. You understand? Because you sat aside for all these years and did nothing. But see, the people have to ask the question, well, how are you wealthy if you've been isolated and not doing anything? Because wealth, or the way economics works, is in order to acquire wealth means you must tap into capital. And capital is based upon what? You must have an oppressor and an oppressee.
Yes.
So who have they been oppressing?
Each other.
And when you say each other, that was another problem, because it reached the point in the movie where we're looking at it like they doing a whole bunch of fighting each other.
Yeah.
We could have went outside and saw black folk fighting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a whole bunch of fighting of each other. Matter of fact, Black Panther don't kill one white person.
No.
He killed up some cars now. He was killing some cars. You understand what I'm saying? He killed a couple of cars. But I don't recall. Now, he might have did a little kicking, a little flipping, but they made sure they kept him as Obama.
Yes.
They set up the movie. T'Challa, you Obama. Eric Killmonger, you Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. And they had to make Killmonger look so bad so that your thought would lead that who would ever want to be down with a nigga like that?
Yes, exactly.
Who would ever want to be down with one of them crazy revolutionary black folk?
Yeah.
You see, so, I mean, it really, and where the backfire is coming in, I'm not the only one, you're not the only one. There are thousands of black folk all over the country saying I left the movie with a funny taste in my mouth. Mm-hmm. For one, I felt bad because looked like Killmonger was who I should have been rooting for.
You're right.
Yes, he's crazy, but you know what? Revolution is by any means necessary. Because you know what? What has been done to the oppressed people of the world is so vile and so violent, it is beyond human comprehension. So therefore, from a physics standpoint, an action must be met with an equal and opposite reaction.
The other thing is how they looked after and took care and was careful to take care of white folk.
Oh, you have the CIA agent in Ross.
Yes.
Now, where they didn't invite their own family member.
They brought him.
They brought in Ross.
They brought him in to save his life.
They brought in Ross and saved his life.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, see, Killmonger, they asked him, do you want me to save your life? Ross didn't even ask him. They just did it automatically.
Right, just took him there. And then what really did it was after all of the credits ran, and most people, they got up and left. After all the credits ran, then they come back with a very short storyline where this white boy comes out of this hut looking like Jesus Christ.
At the end, they bring Bucky out, the Winter Soldier. And when you looked at him, your first thought is what? That's Jesus Christ coming out of the tomb.
Yes. Yeah.
Coming out of the tomb.
Yes.
And Mary Magdalene's waiting for him.
Right.
Coming out of the tomb. Because, I keep hearing over and over again, oh, it was so beautiful. It was the Osirian myth. Heck, Superman is the Osirian myth. Superman is Osiris. Jesus is the Osirian myth. We've had this story, Tammuz of Mesopotamia, Anani of Sumer. I mean, that ain't nothing new, the Osirian myth. We understand when you deal with hero, the term hero comes from Heru.
Yes.
Superhero, super-Heru. So we know where all this comes from. So, we are so excited just because, it's some black folk being able to play out the Osirian myth. Because, we usually get played, we got to watch Superman, which make no sense because you're trying to wonder how a white boy get energy from the sun. Then you got to watch The Lion King. They got black voices, but they animated characters, animals. So because we have been just so done dirty, when somebody got their foot on your neck the whole time and they just let off a little bit, you say thank you. So we're saying thank you because, finally, You back begging like Lupita was in 12 Years a Slave for a bar of soap, when the reality is, from a historical standpoint, Africans had the knowledge to make soap themselves.
That's right.
Had to teach them.
Yeah, right.
Many of them.
They wasn't using it.
How to make soap. It was insulting. So when you see the movie, some parts are really just funny because the fact that they would actually put that in there.
But what isn't funny is we are so far away from knowing who we are, and we are so unlearned about our history until we sat up there and watched that, and we thought we saw something brand new. We thought it was great.
There's another battle brewing between so-called conscious folk, Pan-African folk, so-called woke folk, just regular old black folk, because you have one segment of our population, they went there and they saw the movie, they saw all the hidden occult stuff in the movie.
Yes.
They saw the Osirian myth. They saw how vibranium represents melanin. The black suit is melanin. They can go through and give you every occult symbolic, you understand what I'm saying? The resurrection death story. They can give you all of the occult angles, Hiram Abiff. Yes. They can give you the three women that represents the triple goddess, the three stages of development, triple darkness, the three stages of in the womb. The three trimesters. We can go through the whole thing of what was represented in the movie from a cult standpoint. But the average little child and the average individual going to see this have no occult knowledge.
And no, they don't know what's going on.
And barely have historical knowledge. Yeah. So they're going, and you had some people actually thought Wakanda was a real place.
Yeah.
So you have, this is going on, but some individuals are so happy to see us engage in technology, not realizing that we've been doing technology for millions of years. Civilizations have come and gone and come and gone again, because oftentimes the root that caused the decline of civilization was what they began to embrace too much technology.
Yeah, and it was interesting because the concept that they were using as the resource that was making them technological advance came from the alchemy readings, because if you know anything about alchemy, supposedly if you find the secret on diluting gold and making it possible to ingest, it gets rid of any and all ailments or diseases, and it'll give you long life.
Correct. And I'm going to, because it's a combination. When they talk about the vibrating, what they're talking about is the concept of something vibrating at a particular frequency.
Yes.
We know that to be melanin. But also what they're talking about when they wrote the comic is at the time certain things are needed. Tungsten is a big thing in particular. You understand what I'm saying now, because you need tungsten, because it's really the only thing that can withstand that heat if you're shooting something up there. But then at the time, the big thing that was needed for the nuclear age was two things. Plutonium, which we know of already, cake. But then also another thing that was needed that was very, very, very important is the uranium. And at the time, the uranium, the biggest concentration of it was in the Congo.
Yes.
And so you're seeing all these things, hodgepodge, because in a way you're kind of feeling like, is this some kind of, is this really Afrofuturism, or is this kind of a form of neocolonialism you're trying to push?
Right.
Because, there's some things, it's like with all this technology, I see y'all still got spears, you still got rhinos. They still manage to kind of keep the Tarzan jungle thing going.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Johnny Wise was the only thing missing.
And they made sure to show us dancing. They made sure to show us dancing.
Yes.
And I know there are some things, but most of the things that I hear a lot of individuals getting, you have to have had that knowledge. Oh, did you see the concept of the female principle and the energy? Because there's a lot of darkness in the movie. And we know darkness represents the womb. And then, so, you even at the end, you have the journey to the underworld. If you're somebody that deal with that, the colors of the chakras and how some women wore blue, some wore green, T'Challa wears black the whole time. We understand all that. Even the concept of purple representing the color of spirituality or the occult or the hidden, and we understand that the herb, the flower produced from the herb was purple. So they were playing with a lot of things in this movie.
Yes.
But the average person
didn't know.
Cannot go and interpret those things.
I know.
And you almost felt like if you took your children to see this, you would have to spend a lot of time breaking this down afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. And trying to sort out the confusion that they're going to be dealing with, because it was nothing but a ball of confusion.
It was a ball of confusion, and then within all of that ball of confusion, you still see it's the great white hope.
Yes, right now.
You know, you got the CIA, and nobody, you know, for one, because it's a Disney movie, you can't call anybody a slave master. They use these old a colonizer. No, these are folk who have done dirty.
Yes.
AFRICOM is all over the continent.
Yes.
And no one stopped to ask, this is the CIA. What about Patrice Lumumba?
Yeah.
What about how the CIA dismantled Kwame Nkrumah and when he was trying to build Pan-Africanism in Africa? We can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
With Malcolm X, the CIA had rented the ballroom the night before. No one talks about that. The CIA and Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Rigging elections.
Yes.
You understand? Genocide, warfare, biogerm, chemical warfare. We can go on and on and on. The CIA has a long list.
Yes.
The Dulles brothers. We can keep going on with the stuff that was done in the name of the CIA, but yet you let the CIA in?
Right. No questions asked.
No questions asked. Even Captain America, his character, has enough nerve to know in 1946 or whatever, when I went under, you understand what I'm saying? It was one type of America. Now here it is, I'm back, and I don't want to be a part of this.
Right.
SHIELD or CIA. So they show Captain America going rogue.
Yeah.
But Black Panther, what does he do? It ends. If you're such a powerful country, what you at the UN for? UN has no power. Matter of fact, whenever the UN does something, you hear the United States and other countries say, we don't care because we don't have to do nothing the UN do or nothing the Hague does.
Right. Or we can veto it.
Yes.
Anything that they want to do. We can stop it.
Yeah, when all that stuff began under the Wilson Plan and then later on after World War II, you understand what I'm saying? The United States was like, we don't have to do nothing because we started this. This is to benefit us. And what we as black people don't understand, there are no permanent alliances, only permanent interests.
Yeah. That is so true. So true. I want to just take a few minutes just to go back to our story, the original Holocaust, the undisputed ancestral truth. For all of you that have gone out to see the Black Panther, you're really going to need this to bring some reality back into your life. And I wanted to again mention that if you want to do it by email, you can email me at wcjohnson76@yahoo.com. Mention you're interested in the book, and I will send you a invoice via PayPal, and you can handle it there. We have come to a point in life in the United States for black folks that we're going to have to make some very serious decisions about where do we go from here? How do we go forward from here? And the problem is, if we're all wrapped up in the foolishness that we just saw with the Black Panther, then our possibilities have been severely limited.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding we have limited opportunities and possibilities, we're going to continue to struggle under the colonial system, and we're going to continue to be lost.
Well, if it's a good thing we can take from the movie, people are talking afterwards. Perhaps people are now curious to go read some books, do some research on their own. It's bringing about discourse amongst black folk. Maybe that discourse can turn, maybe the discussions, I should say, can can reach a level, I should say, at least a discourse, so that we can maybe have some very informed conversations about this, because the movie had so many themes in it that is something for each and every one of us to take from it.
Yeah.
And use that to bring to a table so that we can have discussions. So that, it may be in the discussions that may bring about some type of unity. Because again, I will say this, even though we may not have alliances because we've been splintered, and they understand the concept of divide and conquer. So there are so many things that we have that separate us. I belong to this church, you don't. I belong to this organization, you don't. I belong to this fraternity, you don't. I work here, I believe in this. Maybe what we can come to an understanding is, with all our different alliances we may have, one thing we do have is a permanent interest, and that interest that we should have is the interest of freedom. The interest to say, you know what? You understand what I'm saying? The thesis or the line at the end of the movie with the individual says that, hey, I'd rather die free than be in bondage. And yes, he's taken a line that has been romanticized, because yes, we know quite a few individuals jumped overboard, and there were quite a few of them got tossed overboard. But what folk don't take from the whole situation, first and foremost, you know where I come from. Yes, there were individuals making their way on the Ma'afa via the transatlantic route, but there were also individuals already here.
Yeah.
And one thing we have to start to move towards, if we're going to look at true Afrofuturism, is to drop the whole Afro thing and realize that to be human, we are the original. As you say in your book, human. But what folk have to understand, there's a human and there's a human artificial. And what they have to come to realize is that Africa ain't your home. Africa is your throne. The whole entire planet is your home, because at one point it was just you.
Yeah.
Everybody is an interloper and an immigrant on your planet.
Yes, indeed.
Because you were the first. So we have to be very careful, because sometimes we'll get so caught up in Africa and not realize that your birthright is the entire planet.
Yes. Yes.
Because at one point, on every continent, it was just us. They're showing you not the first Europeans were who? Black folk. The first Asians were what? Black folk. The first Americans were what? Black folk.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what the brother Supreme Understanding.
Yeah.
He has 2 books he didn't put out about when the world was black.
Yes. Yes.
But I want to say this too before it gets too late. You saw them working hard to try and usurp the concept of the Black Panthers as we know of the 60s and 70s.
Right.
The individuals, not just for self-defense, but that started the breakfast program and did so many other good works,
Right.
and actually started a lot of voter drives. They put T'Challa in the throne, similar to Huey Newton's famous picture, but also they made sure they had the story beginning in Oakland, California, which we know is the birthplace of the Black Panthers. Almost like they were letting you know, we're going to now become the new image of Black Panther, a mythical story, so that you won't have an historical account to go from. You'll now look at this mythical story. And I want to say this because nobody caught this, especially with the Black Panther suit. That's when you're dealing with melanin, you're dealing with carbon. Carbon is what they're going to in the future. And the reason why they take place, they show him landing in Silicon Valley, especially in Oakland, is because the new thing they're going to use is carbon will now take the place of silicon. And unlike silicon, even though carbon and silicon are similar, silicon can't support life, but carbon can.
We have the fastest hour in television, and once again, I want to thank you, my brother, for being with us. We have such interesting time when you're here. I know there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to ask about this particular program, and they need to, because of what they're missing by just looking at the Black Panther movie from the emotional standpoint. So, have you back again soon, my brother?
Definitely.
I want to thank you for being with us out there, and My contact information is up there. Get in touch with me if you need to, if you'd like to, and then we find out the best things to do and to discuss because you let us know which direction to go. We want to thank you. We want to encourage you to stay strong, stay black, but most importantly, brothers and sisters, stay committed to blackness. Until we meet again, Uhuru Sasa Ungawa.
Skies, my eyes glisten and tears drop down like rain. Not from the pain, from the joy of how far we came. My brainstorms are designed to celebrate our reign. Yeah, when you put it in perspective, the collective, monuments erected, continents affected, presidents elected, ancestors making moves with the music we've been blessed with. We use it to keep communities connected. Through harmonies, a harmony is collected. Reaping the fruits our foremothers invested. Lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, yeah, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, listen, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, come on, come on.
Sing a song,
Yeah, talk to
full of the faith that the dark past has taught us.
come on.
Sing a song, full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun
Facing the rising sun, come on.
of our new day begun.
It's a new day.
Let us march on
Yeah.
till victory is
Yeah, until victory is won, come
won. Till victory is
This is
won.
victory music. Come on, I hope you feel it.
Yeah.